I got out of bed after a big night out at my 60th birthday, 3 o'clock in the morning, and I could drink for a week straight, no matter. Then I got out of bed one day and I looked at myself and I went, what am I doing? I run a business. I want to travel the world. I can't do this every day. And I just said, no more. Went to my cupboard, went to my fridge, and I emptied 2 cartons of beer, empty rum bottles. Everything I drank, I emptied. Smashed all the bottles, put all the dump, cleaned it all up, got my gym set up, started running, started training, threw out all my rubbish diet, got into good healthy foods, because the mind is the power. If you want to do what you want to do, you can do it. Forget about everybody else behind you and beside you. Nobody is like you. You are very special. I'm very special, but I'm special for me. So around me now is a full protected boundary. No one comes in, and I don't go out. And I protect, and I teach, and I educate about the personal journey. Do you really need it? Or do you have friends who aren't your friends? Because if your friends have got you drinking alcohol to make them laugh, you're the clown, not them. They're the clowns when you step away. And it's when I stepped away from all those people, I was just a little clown, a monkey getting drunk, dancing and fighting and showing what I could do. But by giving all that away, I haven't had one bit of trouble with myself for the last, what's it been, 30 years? Yeah, 30 years, probably not 30, last 25 years since I sort of got into gear. And I really slowed it right up. And the last 10 years, no alcohol. And been around the world. I was lucky. I'd been with the Australian government to Malta. I've been with them to India, Bollywood Film Fest. I've been to Brunei, Singapore. I've been to China, Switzerland, Germany. So I've flown around the world now and done things that I would have never dreamed of if I'd have stayed in that state of mind of nobody loves me, no one cares for me, but I care for myself. So I made that point that I'm the one that needs to stand. I stood for me. My wife helped me. My daughter helps me. And now I'm the man I wish I was 40 years ago, 50 years ago when I was young, to get away from that Western town, move it to a place where harmony was, and continue to do things. I was offered to go to an architect school, but I didn't know what to do because the fear of leaving the bush, leaving family, and going to a big city didn't know what to do. So I ran away because I didn't know what to do. So the bush became my life. But all that now is the story behind of what can happen to you if you allow things to take over your spirit the way that others see it and do it the way that you see it. Because you are the most important person in your business, in your life is you. Nobody can change that or take that from you. You are number one. You get people's support. And as Jock Tara said to me, on your hand, one hand of your body, you can count how many people on that hand that you can call on every day. I probably got 2 or might be 3 that I know that are fair income I can call on if I needed support. And Marty Clay is one a day in my life that if I need something and I'm a bit off track, I always get Marty to give him a call, sit with him, go through his program and learn about what I have done, what I am doing, and now's the journey to accept that.
Welcome to Unlocked From Within. Today's guest we have is Michael Connolly. He is an Aboriginal Elder. He's a worldwide recognised artist of Aboriginal art. He has been in business for over 30 years, has a business that's co-founded with his wife, which is called Dreamtime Kullilla-Art, based out at Redcliffe on the peninsula in Queensland, Australia. And he is an international speaker and a mentor to mine as well. Welcome, Michael, to the show.
Thanks very much, Marty. And it's been a long time, as we always talked about, doing this and showcasing my story through your podcast business. And I've heard so much about you. You've told me stories. So I thought it's a chance for me now to tell my story. So here we are.
Yeah. And again, Michael, look, I'd like to congrats you on officially 30 years in business under the umbrella of Dreamtime Kullilla-Art, which was just last month. You know, one of the stories that I think stands out for me is, you know, where did you start? Like, where did it all start?
Well, I was sitting at home and when I moved from Charleville down to Redcliffe and wanted extra money and I was driving some trucks and that. And Joe said, "Why don't we paint some didgeridoos and paint them and sell them?" And I said, "Well, how do we do that?" So I met a gentleman called Jock Taris. He was a Scotsman in business. He said, "Yeah, I'll give you a hand." Jock had a lot of respect for our culture and took me on board and got me business cards and got me to do some art and some stories. And yeah, went down to Redcliffe at the markets with a card table, bit of tar, 10 didgeridoos. And the gentleman saw me there and he said, "I think you better come into the city, more chance of selling something." So I went into Vicar Street Pier and get there at 6:30 in the morning and got out on the boardwalk of Kookaburra Queen was and had an orange umbrella and card table and some didgeridoos on a stand. And about 6 weeks, and this old bloke said to me, "You'll be right. When you start selling, you want to keep the product up. They'll like what you do. It all depends on how you see it and how they see it and hear your stories." So went from there to South Bank, and Peter Hackworth was a wonderful lady and gave me a tent, showed me how to set up, how to get lights because we were there Friday night, all day Saturday night, all day Sunday. And yeah, I started to get a bit more confidence in myself. And Joe had come along with us and give me more direction. And then the business went from there to a 7 metre by 3 metre tent. I was to sit in one side of the tent and paint. Then the other side was all the products on shelving. And I got a van, I got a trailer, and bang, away it went. At 15 years, traveling around markets in the city.
Wow. And like, so was it at the Redcliffe Markets just in that period when you first started at the markets?
Yeah, that was my first
Yeah.
day on a Sunday morning on the grass with some didgeridoos and a card table. And people asked me to play, and I'd play one. And then, yeah, I didn't know how to talk to people or discuss what I knew about my culture because from a lot of racism in the bush when I was young and that, you had to sort of pick your fights and see what you're going to do. So a lot of that was in my mind, and I got help with that and business people and through different organisations that help you. So I did that, and then they give me confidence to speak about what I know, paint what I know, and tell the stories of what I know.
Wow. Wow. And so like a lot of people that are listening, whether they want to start a business or in business or just started a business, like a thing that stands out for me is like what was going through your head, you know, week 1, not selling anything, week 2, not selling anything, week 3, week 4, week 5, like to keep going and just like having that bigger vision.
I think the people that are been in business, like Jock was been in business for 40 years, and Jock, he had known everything. He came from Scotland as a 10-pound pom. He got a job in the Australian Army. And when he retired out of there, he started a printing business. He started to sell blinds in houses. So he said it's about getting to know your business, getting to know your stories, and getting to know what people are interested in. So as I said, that first 6 weeks, I went, "Oh, holy hell, have I done all this?" I got, "Oh no," I started to get a bit worried about what I can do because I thought if everybody I heard about was making millions of dollars with Aboriginal art, I said, wow, just imagine having $1 million in my pocket from selling my art. What a great passion it was. So an old bloke just said to me at the markets, he was selling stuff beside me. He said, "Don't worry. I started a couple of months," he said. "Then one day you sell everything and you got to work your ass off to get it all ready again." I went, "Oh, okay." And the next weekend, people said, "I've been watching you for weeks and we decided we're going to buy a didgeridoo." Well, once someone bought it and I played one, another one bought, another one bought, and I went, "I'm going home with about $1,000. I went, "Gee, this is better than truck driving. Might have to have a look at this." And that was the process of, you know, going into South Bank, selling another couple of didgeridoos, selling some art, and then getting to know how people came to look. And there was an amazing person I met through economic development at Redcliffe Council. Went to this meeting with him, and he was Canadian. He said, "People walk into your shop or your tent to look at what you have to sell. Remember, treat them with respect, tell them the story they want to know, and you'll sell every time. And after we finished, he says, come and see me, Michael, next weekend if you don't sell anything. Well, I went down, I told everybody the stories, and I played didgeridoo, and I was a bit of a larrikin when I was young, so I knew how to perform. So I played the didgeridoo and done some storytelling and showed people everything and watched everybody, what they do. Pick up a piece of art or didgeridoo, they look at the art, see my signature, ask me my story, because I'm a Connolly man from southwest Queensland, a Murrawarri man, connections from my mother at northwest New South Wales, which gives me connections in the southeastern Aranda, Pintinjara, Central Australia. So I'm telling all the stories, the people excited. Then I started selling another didgeridoo and 4 or 5 piece art. So my average in those days was $1,000 on a Friday, 1,000 on a Saturday, and 1,000 on Sunday. And when the Australian dollar was very weak against the US, back with the US money, I was selling 2 to 1 because it was only about 49.50 cents. So then I had to learn about nations with their money and how much difference it is to Australia and what's it worth. So you get deals and all that sort of thing, which I was pretty good out in the bush because I grew up learning how to do deals and buy and sell stuff and make money. So I was already an entrepreneur when I was about 12, 14 year old, buying and selling with copper and brass and beer bottles and all that. So that comes straight out of me. I could talk, make the money, cash flow. And then, yeah, we went from there and then come to credit cards. And as everybody would have known, the old clackers, slot the credit card in, slide across and bang, get them to sign it. Anything over $100 was ring up the bank, get a number, put that on it, and take it all down the bank on the Monday, and they transfer it across to your bank account and all that stuff. And that's how technology started with me as an artist. No education, but my wife would come along and she'd do all that, show me. And when she couldn't come along because the kids were babies, she would stay home and I had to make that plan. But in the market, everybody was the same. Everybody would give you a hand and support you. So they were like a family as well. So by going to the markets, learning that, teaching me that, laughing with them, being confident, and then our market life took off. And I said 14, 15 years from there. So it was a
Wow.
journey. Yeah.
Wow. And like, I think I coach a few different business owners. Some of them are like startups that start off at the Redcliffe Markets and the various ones around Brisbane and whatnot. And some of them, which you would have known, like it's a shock when you do your first market or your first 1, 2, or 3, like you've got to learn about how to approach people. Like you can't just try to sell straight off the bat, but they're the little things that you've sort of just got to figure out as you go along. And some of my business owners that I coach that have never done it before, like the first thing that they come back and say to me is like, "Oh, how do I approach a person?" It feels a bit unnatural and awkward. But can you remember those early days of like those little things where it was what was more effective and how you sold?
Yeah, well, as I said, economic development, that Canadian, he told the story at the night out, and he said that when he came to Australia, he went down in Edward Street, and there was an old brick building in Brisbane City, Edward and Charlotte Street in that area. Walked in, this bloke had all these suits and ties and everything hanging up everywhere. So I stood there, and he said the gentleman behind the counter walked out, laid out 7 suits, 7 pairs of shoes, 7 pairs of socks, and said 7 shirts. He said, "I'll go and get us a coffee, have a look." And the bloke walked out of his shop up the road, about half an hour away, come back with 2 coffees, and he says, "You like it?" He said, and this bloke knew every colour that I liked, the blues, the greens, the nice black shoes. He said, I was so excited that he'd had everything there that I wanted, and I only wanted 1 suit. I bought the whole 7, all the clothing. So he said that was the memory that he didn't ask me anything. He just watched me, read me, threw everything in front of me, I laid it out on the table, and walked away and left me, come back and asked me where I was from. I said, Canada. And we talked about the Canadian Rockies and about travelling in the world and enjoying life. And he said, he never sold me anything, but I love what he put in front of me. He said, so if you look at people walk into your shop, so I had arts. He said, always look what the person's looking at and walk up and put it in his hand and tell him about the story. So that's how I learned from that Canadian. Never forgot that story. That just seeing someone standing in your shop and looking at them and not talking, walk up, "Oh, how you going, mate? What a beautiful day." I said, been a bit fresh. I was up early this morning at 4 o'clock. I said, and where you from? Which country? And you're traveling here. I'm traveling in Brisbane and I'm going to Sydney. And so I got to know everybody like that. And then my sales started to come because people saying, look, mate, I might take all those payments and there's $1,000 straight away. So my money started to flow in. Then I had to I used to write it all down those days because when I was a young fella working in the bush, every time I'd done a job, I'd write it down, how long I was there for, and how much money I made. So I had my little personal ready reckoner, what I sold, how I sold, and people just loved for the story. And when they come, I'd play a ditch and get them dancing. So you'd have Chinese doing Chinese dancing and, you know, English jumping around the flat like kangaroos, and everybody just loved to come to the tent. It was a big red tent, Dreamtime Kullilla-Art all over the back of it. So people got that name, which is important. Kullilla-Art has been like a Billabong story about clothing. That is theirs. And everybody remembers surf clothes with that. Well, mine is the Aboriginal art and stories by Kullilla-Art and by me. So it made that extra happiness that people saw it as a recognised label, not just an Aboriginal man standing in a tent. So that was a great journey from that one person talking about asking the person where they're from, talk about them. Because people that travel like you to know about them. And he's not going to tell you. But if you ask him, they'll talk for an hour. I had 10 people in my tent, all buying and selling, all buying off me and talking about their lives and want to know a story. Yeah, I'll tell you a story. And then we talk for hours. And I love talking, as you probably guessed. And I like a good yarn. And they all told me their stories. And I had bags, just got out the door, bags and bags. So that was one thing I learned about business in the market region of your personal journey, your culture, your stories, your country. When people come here to see Australia, an Aboriginal person, and in a tent selling didgeridoos, artworks, T-shirts, and I had everything there for them.
Wow. Wow. No, look, I know personally when I'm doing in the past my pop-up booths with selling the skiing, snowboarding business products with NFPD, it's the same thing. I find my sales are more effective if I just get to know the person, say, hey, how you doing? Are you in for, are you here on a holiday? Do you live locally? When's your next ski trip? Are you planning one? When's your next snow holiday? And then if I can help them out in any way where, if I've been to that ski resort or that country that has a ski resort and give them some tips, it's a more effective way, but intentionally doing it, not just doing it to expect the sale.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Get to know each other, reconcile your differences, see what feelings you have, and with your knowledge of your product, they can see it and they can feel it. And if they've got it in their hands, they can actually be part of it. With the didgeridoo, it's about getting a sound through the hollow pipe. It's about creation of spiritual connection and just seeing the art of the didgeridoos, the kangaroo or the emu, Australian emblems and all that and stories. So that was the best thing I learned about education with others, and they educate me because without both of the human race educating each other, well, we don't learn much about each other and we enjoy the moment that we're in. So that was very important to me.
Powerful, powerful. And so originally, was it 1994 when you first started under the
Yeah,
name Didgeridoos by Michael, roughly?
yeah, that was sort of a bit of a start. Joe made me up a little thing with didgeridoos by Michael on it,
Mm.
and had these little cards made up by when I was driving trucks for Australian paper manufacturers, and I go and pick up all these printers papers. He said, I'll do you a business card, and I've still got it in my box over there. Didgeridoos by Michael. So when people get a card off me, I go, wow, now they got my card. Now they see my little bit of sheet with didgeridoos by Michael that my wife painted on it and drew on it. So those memories of starting like that to a 7 metre by 3 metre tent with Dreamtime Kullilla-Art all across the back of it and didgeridoos by Michael, you know, the name was there, the story was there, and the excitement came more and more stronger.
And what was the catalyst of changing the name to Dreamtime Kullilla-Art?
Well, we thought that Cullilla is my native title grounds, and to teach people from my area with the Cullilla art, and then my deep backing from my mother of the Murrawarri, North New South Wales. Well, I call myself Mundagara Kullawarri, the spirit of the snake of the two nations that I'm born to. So we put that one there, and then put Kullilla-Art, which you say Murawari art, it didn't sort of fit. But Kullilla-Art, the sound with the art at the end, Kullilla-Art, and that was it. Or as our country's known by the other way, without the words on the end, is Kullilla or Kullali. So we had all different pronunciations of my tribal ground. So Kullali-Art, Kullilla-Art, and that's how it finished up. Strong, very presentable, and the words Kullilliart fitted together in a good block, standing straight, tall, and connection.
Awesome. Awesome. And so, yeah, I want you to take us back to, your story, your upbringing, where you were from, and, some of the challenges, you had to go through, and the roller coasters.
Yeah, I was born in 1957. That gives you an idea how old I am. And raised around Charleville. We live on the edge of town on the eastern side. I had an older brother, and I finished with a younger brother 7 years later, and lived in this little old 3-bedroom house and went to school up a certain road to go up into the school. And all the old girls would hose on the side of the lawns every morning, see if the Connolly boys went past, hose across in the afternoon to make sure we went home. And that's how we went. Mum was very protective of us. Dad was away mustering, droving, shearing, truck driving or something to earn money to feed the family. So those early days of not knowing much, and Mum kept us pretty well under the cover. But when we were really little, Mum used to have this big old cane pram and cover it up with us in it to go uptown and do some shopping. Because if a mother was seen with 2 Aboriginal kids, your chance of getting taken away. So Mum protected us like that. So it was all under protection all the time. Mum would have us, people looking out for us. She'd look out for us. She'd tell us every day where we could go and we couldn't go to make sure that nothing happened to us. So that was early in life. And we didn't know much about it because that was what you had to do. So as we grew up and got older and got into work, then there was a bit of abuse. And then I grew up with a bit of domestic violence as well. So I had to learn to look after myself. Then I got a lot of trouble over that. It got to a point in my life where alcohol took over. And I wished I'd never seen it. I wish I'd went away and got help and made my life better. But that was just another part of my journey. And then I worked in the post office for about 8 years, program boy, postman, mail sorter, then left there, North Queensland at Mackay, went back out Western Queensland, went in the shearing sheds, went mustering, got a job on the railways and stayed there for about 8, 9 years. Then got my first marriage. 12 months later, I'm single again. She cleaned me out, took everything off me. Then I met my wife now. We've been together 40 years. So It's
Wow.
been a journey for her and I, and raised 2 children. Son's married, got 2 sons. Daughter got married, looking for having children. She helps now with the business. She's 32 and she understands all this technology stuff. So they support me with that. I do all my cultural stuff. My wife keeps me in check and away we go. So it's been a journey from learning about myself, going through abuse, getting out of that, and coming to where I am today with no alcohol for over 10 years and keep myself fit and strong. And next February, I turn 70-year-old. So it's been a great journey.
Wow. Wow. Powerful. And so, anyone that's listening that is struggling, with alcohol or some kind of substance, what do you think can help, just to, if they're aware of it, but they just want to take baby steps of changing the state they're in?
Well, I got out of bed after a big night out at my 60th birthday, 3 o'clock in the morning, and I could drink for a week straight, no matter. Then I got out of bed one day and I looked at myself and I went, what am I doing? I run a business. I want to travel the world. I can't do this every day. And I just said, no more. Went to my cupboard, went to my fridge, and I emptied 2 cartons of beer, empty rum bottles. Everything I drank, I emptied. Smashed all the bottles, filled all the dump, cleaned it all up, got my gym set up, started running, started training, threw out all my rubbish diet, got into good healthy foods, because the mind is the power. If you want to do what you want to do, you can do it. Forget about everybody else behind you and beside you. Nobody is like you. You are very special. I'm very special, but I'm special for me. So around me now is a full protected boundary. No one comes in, and I don't go out. And I protect, and I teach, and I educate about the personal journey, do you really need it? Or do you have friends who aren't your friends? Because if your friends have got you drinking alcohol to make them laugh, you're the clown, not them. They're the clowns when you step away. And it's when I stepped away from all those people, I was just a little clown, a monkey getting drunk, dancing and fighting and showing what I could do. But by giving all that away, I haven't had one bit of trouble with myself for the last, what's it been, 30 years? Yeah, 30 years, probably not 30, last 25 years since I sort of got into gear. And I really slowed it right up. And the last 10 years, no alcohol and been around the world. I was lucky. I'd been with the Australian government to Malta. I've been with them to India, Bollywood Film Fest. I've been to Brunei, Singapore. I've been to China, Switzerland, Germany. So I've flown around the world now and done things that I would have never dreamed of if I'd have stayed in that state of mind of nobody loves me, no one cares for me, but I care for myself. So I made that point that I'm the one that needs to stand. I stood for me. My wife helped me. My daughter helps me. And now I'm the man I wish I was 40 years ago, 50 years ago when I was young, to get away from that Western town, move it to a place where harmony was and continue to do things. I was offered to go to an architect school, but I didn't know what to do because the fear of leaving the bush, leaving family, and going to a big city didn't know what to do. So I ran away because I didn't know what to do. So the bush became my life. But all that now is the story behind of what can happen to you if you allow things to take over your spirit the way that others see it and do it the way that you see it. Because you are the most important person in your business, in your life is you. Nobody can change that or take that from you. You are number one. You get people's support. And as Jock Tara said to me, on your hand, one hand of your body, you can count how many people on that hand that you can call on every day. I probably got 2 or might be 3 that I know that are fair income I can call on if I needed support. And Marty Clay is one today in my life that if I need something and I'm a bit off track, I always get Marty to give him a call, sit with him, go through his program and learn about what I have done, what I am doing, and now's the journey to accept that.
Yeah, wow. Wow, that's awesome. And it's going into business, like I say to people, going into business for yourself it is one of the hardest things you can do. I feel like a lot of people have a fantasy around it, like it'll be easy,
Yeah.
but it's literally personal development on steroids, whether you like it or not. And what was going through your mind when you initially started it? Like you would have had how old with the kids at that point?
Oh, what's it now? That's 30 years. So they've been 2 and 3 year old. So Joe's look after them. I'd come home from the markets and give her a hand with the kids. Then I'd make didgeridoos. Then I'd paint. Then they'd run around. Then as they got a little bit older, they'd come to markets with me, throw in the back of the old van with all the bean bags. And they'd roll around there, come to the markets, fish and chips, and they'd run around the markets and play at South Bank. Then that sort of grew up. So they grew up seeing me in the markets. They loved the markets. And then we helped Joe together. And me, all of a sudden, I give the truck driving away. So I was home every day. Then they started school. So I'd take them to school. And Joe would learning how to do the computer work, set the business up, work with Jock and all the other professionals. And then I'd go ahead and do my art. I'd go bush and cut didgeridoos. So it become sort of 24/7, if you like, on how I develop children, family, arts, buildings of the art, stories, creations, getting a bit extra work to get your paints and your brushes and your canvases. And so you have a million things to create a story. And it's like baking a cake. You can't just throw flour in and say, that's a chocolate cake. You've got to throw this in it. Then you throw all the seeds into it. Then you throw all the beautiful plants into it. You get this beautiful made plant cake that's full of vitamins and minerals, and you love it. Well, my business is like that. You start off with thought. A thought becomes the story. Then you add the canvas, the didgeridoos, the paints, the brushes, the time. Then you put all that together, and then you put it in the vehicle, and then you got the right van. Then you go to the markets. Then you set up a tent. That's another part of the story. So it's not just putting your stuff together and going to the markets. to make money or tell your story because you have a cake that you're building. Mine become 10 layer cake of markets, what I needed out of those to make the next layer, what I need out of that to make the next layer and the next layer until I've had 16 years in the shop in the area of 349 McDonald Road. Started off in Unit 7 and went to Unit 1. Been there 16 years for the both places, but I've leased 1, I've leased 11, I've leased 7, I've leased 8, I've leased 9, I've leased 3. I've virtually lived in the whole complex in my business life here for 16 years. And the people here have been wonderful. They've supported me, and it's been a great journey. In the situation of how do you start a business? It's what you love, the people around you, people beside you, and the ones that are genuine. If someone comes to you and says a great story, ask him to tell his story, because his story mightn't be anything, because he might love your story and wants your story, because he probably doesn't have a story. So you've got to watch those sort of people. Everybody has a great idea, but they never do it. Your great idea is like mine. Passion, love, good support around me, and happiness, what I've done in my 30 years.
Yeah, wow. Well, and like you've got people all around Australia, even internationally, that's come to the store down at Redcliffe Peninsula at Clontarf. Like you've got a funny story. I think you were telling me when you went overseas to Ireland. You want to share
Yeah,
that
last
story?
year, yeah. We went to a tour of Scotland, down to London, then over to Ireland, and then we're on a Colette tour. And we get right around up the top to a place called Donegal. And I'm standing there, and my glasses were a bit wriggly, so I saw a sign, Specsavers. I said, Jesus, they got them here. So I walk in the front door, put my glass up at the counter, and had a sign around me, Michael Connolly, Colette Tours. And this lady said to me, you used to be in South Bank in Brisbane because I bought a didgeridoo off you 22 years ago. Wow. You told me you were going to come here and see where your great-grandparents come from. Tipperary, County Galway, and here you are. It's great to see you. She got all the people around, and he's a story. And my wife says, can we not go anywhere in this world where someone pulled you aside because they've bought art off you or bought a didgeridoo off you or spoke with you in Australia? And here we were, this little place called Donegal, and they're not far away from Belfast. It's
Wow.
a magic. Wherever I've gone, I've always met people that have known me and known that. And my daughter now, 32 and going around, she does a lot of business stuff. Oh, who's your father? Michael Connolly. So they'll either drop their head or they'll smile. So depending on how I fit it into the business world with others, I'm pretty straightforward. So I always tell them as I felt it, and not as other people tell you the story of they're only half thinking about it. I'll tell you as I tell it, as I am, and that's my story.
Wow. Yeah, no, that's a pretty crazy story on the other side of the world, to
Yeah.
meet one of your customers. That's very cool. Very cool. There's a lot of artists, and creatives, I feel like, that do wanna take their business to the next level, and they might be, they might have some things going on where like, "Oh, but I've got ADD or ADHD, or I've got this or I've got that." What do you think as a successful, world recognized artist, Aboriginal artist, like what do you think are the keys to just starting to create your own work and actually getting it out there? Like, one of the other layers they could have, is a common one, is perfectionism or fear of criticism and judgment that the work's not good enough, which is, basically perfectionism, right? So, but what
It's
do you think are the keys to
well,
unlocking?
the key that I saw, I had people around me to say, and the gentleman from Canada, it's in my mind. He always says he brought a good scenario up. He said, if you're selling oranges here for $1 and the gentleman down the road selling for 20 cents and he's selling thousands of them, he said, if you go down and put your oranges down to 20 cents, then he goes broke and pulls out, you only got orange worth 20 cents. But if you keep everything of your business the way that you felt, the way you seen it as $1, when he's gone, you can always make $1. So with my art, I don't do a lot of the dot art, which a lot of people just love the dot art, right? But to me, a story is of country. Walking of country, hearing the kookaburras, seeing the birds, walking through the grass, on the river system, catching a fish, seeing the fish in your vision, an emu, a brolga, all the movements of the Australian native animals and the flora and the fauna. So my art is like that. It's the realistic of me walking through country, footmarks and all that. If it's going to be a dot painting, well, I walk on my country, I don't see a lot of dots. But the commercial world, which started in the 70s at Yuendamu, they saw the old people telling the stories on the dirt. So give them a ripaline, a time piece of ripaline, and the old people got it and done their fingers and told the stories of their art. And that became the dot art story. Story was in the dot art as you told it, but the dots were protecting the story, the original story on how to, like a map, how to read country. And those stories were protected by putting your finger marks all over it. And everybody says, wow, look at the lovely colours, look at the lovely dots. But there's no story in that. To me, personally, there's no story in that. I want to show you a tree. You have a look at Namatjira. He painted Central Australia, the beautiful ghost guns, the nice red mountains and the creeks. They're sold for billions of dollars. I get paintings over there worth $5,000. Some I've had there for years because people say, "Oh, why don't you put some more dots in it?" But that's not me. And that a Canadian bloke always said, "You keep going the way you are, because dot works everywhere." I'm hoping someone walks in my gallery tomorrow and sees my back wall, no dots, and says, "I'll buy everything in the back wall, $30,000-$40,000 for the painting." Then I know the story of the Canadian was right. But one day someone will come in and passionately buy my paintings at the big price that they're there for, because it's about my story to show Australia in the outback as I see it, not the way commercialism sees it. But as a young person wants to start his business, write it all out. Write your story. Firstly, paint a story in words of where you want to go, what your idea is, and then have a look at what other people have done similar things in that particular business, if there is another particular business like it, and see what they've done. Read their story. See how they stopped business. See how they boomed in business. So you learn off them. Then you say, okay, now how do I want to do it? For you, for your personal gain is how you want to do your business. Don't keep everybody else. I've always made my story of my business my way. I didn't have to, I was told, oh, you should do more dots, should be doing this, should be doing that. That person is still saying that on the side of the road. But I'm over here, still earning money and still helping my artists, the fellow my friends, and their communities all over Australia. They do a lot of dot art. They're in, like you see, they're in tablecloths, they're in shirts, they're in that. So I can help them by selling a few of their products. So our community grows stronger. Now I have 1,000 artists, Australia-wide, Indigenous artists. I sell their products. And I built that through companies over the last 30 years as well. So they've helped me. My art is mine, their art's theirs, but I protect their art. It's the fake art campaign I did from 2015 to 2023. And I took a gentleman to the ACCC who was getting it all made in China and India, in Indonesia. And he was found 2.3 million. He liquidated his business. He sued my wife and I defamation and said, I'll have you under a gum tree because that's where you belong, with no business, with no place to live, and with nothing, because there's no law for you people in this country. Here I am. The courts got rid of him in 2007, 2019, and I'm still here in 2026, and he's finished. And you can go online and you can Google the ACCC fake art campaign, and that person's business pops up. It's well known. There was a lawyer that they rang me in Adelaide. He was doing that story to promote the fake art down in South Australia. This is what will happen to you if we, of Aboriginal people, do find you misappropriating Aboriginal art from our country. We will take you to court. And this is what they've achieved. Then there was the Aboriginal flag. We couldn't use it as this one person had a copyright and had license agreements, but he was an Aboriginal man. So, righto, I said, well, let's stop it. So I got together 2 other ladies, Aboriginal ladies, and we went on it for 5 years we took, and the government said, "We'll close it off, we'll buy it, we'll have it stand beside the Australian flag and the Torres Strait Islander flag, and we'll have it free for the Aboriginal people to enjoy for their lives." So there it is, all freed. The art has been protected. Now the Commonwealth Games coming up, all the fake art's coming in. They're storing it, getting it ready. So I'm about to get on the campaign to stop all this. If our people do not get a run with the arts and make money, well, then I'm coming at you. So beware, I'm coming at you.
Awesome. Awesome. And you've got all different types of art that you create. And
Yeah,
I feel like if anyone was just listening and that they got something out of that, if they are still stuck, one of the things that you do is you do business consulting sessions, one-on-one,
yeah.
intuitive sessions. And I highly recommend, someone to go check it out if they're still just not sure on how to take their business to the next level. I know I've done it personally several times, like yourself. If I've got something I'm struggling with that I can't rack my brain over and I need help, you're one of the first people that I call, and to do one of those sessions. So it's been really, really helpful. So anyone that's listening, like, I highly encourage, go down, see Michael. You've helped out my friends, family in those one-on-one sessions, and everyone's always gotten a lot out of them. So I think if anyone's listening, and you want to get to experience it, you've got people all around Australia that come see you for that. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I've had them come from Ireland. I've had them come from Canada, and they've heard about me through my art and my stories and my dreaming and my connection to the spiritual world of how we, as Aboriginal people or traditional people of the world, how they can walk in the bush and tell a story. They can come back and tell you a story, and how that turns into a business deal. It could be anything from a shirt about Australia or from wherever you come from. And once you see it, you feel it, you know you've been there. And as I said, my name popped up in Ireland, and I hadn't seen the person for 22 years. So that is the longevity of that connection and listening. Because as I've had a lot of people come to me and they walk in the door, and before we know it, in 10 minutes, they've got that much going on. They're talking about so many things. I always stop and say, let's talk about you. Who are you? And the who are you, that question starts the process. Then I will help and support the who are you, and to give you that channel to be the person you are in your business, and how we go from there. And I've had people 3, 4 times come back to me. Then they come and say to me, a gentleman come to me one day and he says, "You know what? I done that house up the road. I rebuilt it, sold it, and I had a meeting with you because I didn't know what I was going to do. My mum had passed." And he said, "I met a girl that I went to school with and I was in love with. Now we're getting married and having children. And I hadn't seen her for 30 years. So his journey was to take himself to be who he wanted to be, because everybody out there has someone looking for them. They always have a memory of what you left behind. And somewhere in that memory, there was something they loved about you. So when you find that and you take it on board, who knows? That could be the person, like my wife, has given me this chance of a lifetime to now to be nearly 70 in February next year, in the journey we've been on since 1987. We've been on the journey. So people that we meet in the background someday are looking for you. It's about bringing that channel that I can for you, to channel you to where this crossroad connection, and then starts you to look at it, what it is for you in the business world, the journey of happiness and harmony with other people, and support, and hope to make the world a better place.
Yeah, awesome. Awesome. Like I said, it's, been very impactful for me and my business doing those sessions with you, and also in my personal life. So like if someone's listening that they don't have a business, but they're going through a tough time or a challenging time or a bit of adversity, like, I'd highly recommend going and seeing you in person. So I guess one of the questions, if anyone's listening, is like, they'll be thinking right now, Michael, you're an artist. You're running a business. You do speaking engagements, you're doing everything. But how do you delegate your time when you're focusing on one of those things?
Well, it's the ones that come through the door. I can be like, book with Marty to do a lot of things with him. Then somebody will ring up and say, can I get a chance? All right. I check my calendar and my wife checks the calendar. She knows where I am every inch of the day, every hour of the day. And then we book that person in. And if someone says, I need something this afternoon, I'm in a corner. Then I said, righto, 5:30, come to me shop, we'll sit down and we'll go through it and we'll hope to give you a better night's sleep. And then come back tomorrow when we get you settled down, have a good night's sleep, and then we'll start the full journey the next day. So I make time around different things. At the moment, I'm painting the didgeridoo and I'm painting message stones. So I do that, then I'm with Marty. Then I'm with your people out there in the airways. I'm with you as well. So we all fit in to help another human in the way possible to make a better world. So if I can do that by listening to someone's story and helping through the stories, either painting, either speaking, either connection, either spiritually, but I fit in. The world allows me, the universe gives me that walking line to actually choose to where I have to be at the time of support and need for another person.
Wow, wow. And look, like from me looking from the outside in on you and your business, you know, to business owners that are listening, like I can see it must have happened over time, but you've delegated and you've focused your time on the areas in the business that you're the most passionate about.
Yeah.
But you've had
I'm,
to be really focused in on that to do, like, to say, okay, this is the area I'm going to go in, where my strengths are.
and that's it. I'm very OCD as well. I like to have things in their place. And when I do it so I fine cut the edges and everything. So wherever I am, my mind's always there. If something else drops up, I stop that, get the information from there. Then my wife develops it into a meeting place, a time. And then if someone comes in late in the afternoon and they're in trouble with their mind, I stop everything and concentrate on that because that's very important. If I can help that person to settle in the afternoon and know they're safe till tomorrow, well, then that only takes 20 minutes to half an hour. So if you judge everything by the hour, you'll get nowhere. You just judge it by what you can. You've got 24 hours in a day, 7 days in a week, and 365 days in a year. All that comes down to a minute of your time to start the process of making it a better place for all of us.
Awesome. Awesome stuff. And like over the years, like what is the thing that you're most proud of with the being 30 years in business? Well, 33, but officially 30 under this name. But what's the things
I
that
think
stand out for you?
it stands out in ways of people that have connection to you, respect of what I've achieved and how I've achieved it. Like a lot of nations in Australia where I can walk in there in the territory and they all know who I am. People say, we use your shop because you fought for the fake art. You fought for the flag. You're always speaking about the rights and wrongs of people, of our people, how we've achieved, what our stolen generation is still today, and what is developed on how I have fulfilled my life in the last 33, 35, 40 years of being public conjured person to talk and help people through. My shop sometimes gets full of people that they're Aboriginal, but they don't know who they are. So we sit and talk about family, and I connect names. And I know every name of every Aboriginal, every connection in Australia. And there's 800,000 of us. And there's 270 language groups, and there's 240 nations. So I know all that. And I can just make one word, one call, because within those nations, I have people in there. I can have a lady, which I did one time, who was Wiradjuri. I then contacted into Dubbo with the girls I know there. This girl went down there, found all relations she didn't know she had, but they knew of her. It's like a broken family line, they come back together. I've had people everywhere. I've had a girl from the Torres Strait who come to me, walk past me at the market at Musgrave Park at the Aboriginal Day. And a spirit talked to me. I could see it. I was talking to her. She come over and asked, found out that she was removed. Her mother and father were given away when she was 3. She finished up in Victoria, finished up in Western Australia, finished up in Armidale, finished up on the Gold Coast, and came to me. I found a mother, I found a family, all the connections right through to Cairns, Torres Strait, and she moved on with the happiest life that she ever had. It's only because of that separation when she was 3-year-old, and she thought that she was just some orphan child that had nothing. Finished up, she had 1,000 siblings and relations. Now she joins a happy of her life ever since. So it's just that matter of that speaking and listening to everything around you that fits in your business, which some people come looking for. And who knows who you're going to meet that walks through that door to speak about your business. Always listen to yourself on how it feels. Always listen to your triggers in your life. If someone speaks to you and it makes you upset, or that piece of that word or that phrase, you have to pull that out and find out why that trigger made you like you are. And I've done that thousands of times. Why does that trigger me? Then I find out it's part of my history of abuse, or part of the separation, or part of the rejection. And that's how it all comes to play. But it's all worth it in the long run. Everything you do in your business is worth it if you love it and you help someone with your business and their life as well.
Yeah. And one of the stories I think you've told me a while ago, like you must have it a fair bit of types of people that come to the shop. They're just looking to buy something, and you get to know them and you're talking to them. But like, I think one of them, I can't remember, it stood out to me when you were sharing it, was she didn't even know she had Aboriginal in her.
No.
And in her life, like just something was amiss, this disconnection. And then you started. Can you remember that particular story?
Yeah, there's been quite a few actually.
Yeah.
That people come in, stand around, look at me, and I look at them and I say, "Oh, what's your Aboriginal mob?" She says, "Oh, I don't know. I don't know anything." So I get a name off her. Then I say, "You're Aboriginal. Well, I can tell you where you come from." I read the spirit in her. And when she found out and she went and mentioned to one of her sisters something, they said, "Oh, yeah, we knew about it, but we didn't want to claim it because it's trouble." But this one girl said that she knew she had something, but didn't know what it was. Walked in my shop. We had a talk. We sat down. We had a cuppa, had a yarn. I traced her family back for her. She told her family. She finished up in Mount Isa. You know, that's where her family came from, Kalkadoon mob, and moved away, separated from family. And then the older one said, "No, don't claim it because it's only trouble for your family." It's just like having the Bernardos in England. Pick the child up from birth, ship it to New Zealand, Australia, Canada, never seen their family ever again. It's taken the birthright of a child and saying, "No, you're not them. You're one of us over here." And their spirit says, "Well, why do I feel like I'm here, not over there?" So all parts of the human race are like that. But when you find something that attracts you, find out about it, find the people that attracted that to you, to them, and then start the journey as I did with that young lady. And she was just over the moon and got excited and away she went.
Yeah.
So just that little story of taking a little bit of time. The customer is not only a buyer, it's also a journey, because their journey to you is a journey for you to them to help them through that little bit of a place. And they'll always come back. You might sell 1 orange today, but they might bring back 3 or 4, and you sell 4 oranges. So that 1 orange for 2 bob, or 20 cents today, for 2 shillings, 20 cents, can make you 10 shillings later on. And that's what I made it into. Helping someone, sharing your story, telling the story. Because as I believe, one person tells 10, and 10 tells a million. And you put $1, and as an old bloke in the bush said, "I'm a millionaire. I've got 1 million friends. I can get $1 off each of them." That's how he made his money, by buying and selling. Then you get the other person who's miserable. He has racist remarks towards you. He has everything about you. He doesn't know you. Well, that person will always be miserable. He'll always nothing, and he'll always say bad things to people because he thinks he doesn't look at himself and say that he's bad. Everybody else is bad, because what's inside you, you see through your eyes to others. And I've been there. I know what it's like. I would get angry with a person by looking at him, and I'd want to fight that person because in my heart and my soul was anger and pain and rejection. So I want to give it to them. But now, if I can show love and connection to others and help, that's all I see, nothing else.
Yeah, and so like it's it sounds like the importance of actually caring about
Yeah,
people, right? And so and it's not transactional, where a lot of people miss that. They're just trying to make the sale and they don't want to hear from that person again, right?
yeah, exactly.
Transactional. But like to anyone that's listening that, in your travels, have you come across people that have, you know, had a stereotypical view of, I don't know, we'll just say Aboriginals, right? And just by you getting to know their story and where they came from, that it shifted their perspective? Have you ever come across any encounters with people like that where, they just thought, the stereotypical view?
The biggest thing that I found during the referendum was um, why should your people be like us? Or you say, well, you are on our land. You're brought here by colonialism. You're brought here by British. We had thousands of people that came here before the British, and like up in the Kimberleys, the Dutch, the French, across the top end. They even come right down to here. The Dufkin was here in Redcliffe, and I got a message stick off them when they first visited back many years ago to come back to see the people that they met here on the grounds when they sailed in. The colonial wasn't part of it. It's traditional people. Then they went home because we're living in harmony. So in comes the British, like to do it around the world. Oh, it belongs to us. So they called it all different names, and one name they called it was Terra Nullis, which means the land of no one. And then they put a cage around us and called us Aborigines because I am, and always will be, an Aboriginal man of the Murawari and Kullilla nations, of the original race of people that walked this earth for hundreds of thousands of years. So they come and put us all in a cage, fences off and says, no, you're Aboriginal people. Now, the word Aboriginal comes from Italy. They are the original Aborigines of the world. They were called Aborigines under the Latin word AB and a gap, origines. So they put them together and called them the Aborigines. So they said, oh, their collective group under one name. Let's bring it to Australia and put it around Australians of our people, the First Nations peoples, or not the First Nations people, the origin of our people here. Because the First Nations is another dialect of government to put the fence around us. Same as the Canadians. They call them that. Everywhere where they call a nation of people, they put a rope around it, fence it off to make it that one nation. And then here we are, original people of the Great Southern Land. So the Great Southern Land is what the word Australia means. So we are the original people of the Great Southern Land. We call Australia home. This is what it's all about. And when you get to know all this about you and how and why, and you educate people, we can walk together as the one nation, not the political one nation, but as the one group of people, which is 200 language groups that came to this country, and this, 32% of the world's population of people, they came here, in this country, for freedom. And now they want to cause problems. Well, you don't have to cause problems. You've only got to sit with us, walk in the country with us, and we tell you the story. But as you see what's happening in the world, the fights, the arguments, this way, oh, this is who you owe me, you do this, your grandfather done this, your grandfather done that. Let's put all that aside. Let's walk down that river. Let's go fishing, cook a feed, sleep on the ground, and tomorrow is another day. See the sunrise and the sunset, nothing in between but food and happiness. What we should be looking at.
Powerful, powerful. I think I think that's one of the greatest ways that we can unite everyone. And so
Yes,
that's one of the things I've learned from you is the importance of getting to know other people's story.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the that's probably the number one thing that stood out for me. So we've worked over a couple of the years now, and you've gotten to experience the unlocked from within method, the method that I've done a couple of times for you, as well as for some of your team members. How has it been helpful in your business, but also in your personal life and, just your day-to-day life moving forward? What are the things that have stood out for you?
Well, what you've done when I was probably 15 years ago, when I was coming through that big change, and I was on a fight or flight, and I was up with you, and you took me right back in my life, right back to the first thing I could remember in my life, and then brought it through. And what part of my life did I have the changes? What part of my life was it giving me grief? And then laying all that out and spread it out and then go through it as we do today. So when I accepted that and you left me overnight and you said, see what happens tomorrow, then you come back tomorrow, then my mind cleared. So I said, good. Then away I went again. And then as I come through the changes again in my business and my life, things were changing again. I got to a point that I called you again and I'm thinking, am I doing the right thing? Or I'm getting aggressive, or someone said something to me and I didn't know how to handle that. So I'm way back in my life again. And as we come through every time, we come through where there was the connections of the triggers and the things that we had to dissolve. So you supported me, I dissolved them, and then, as I said to you that time, I got out of bed one morning and I went to drive down here to the shop, and I didn't even know I was here. I've never been here before. And I pulled out my shop and I said to the wife, I have a feeling that I know I'm here, but I've never been here before. Everything in my past had erased. It was just a new world that I was walking up, unlocking the shop, walking in going, wow, this is unbelievable. So with yourself, you brought that through to me, and that come to the levels after this, the way it's been for the last 10 years, the levels have risen. And now I can see myself where I've been, what I'm doing, and I can see signs every day. Something pops up, even it's a message or a word or someone says something. It just comes to me that I'm on the right path. Keep doing. I keep doing what I'm doing, look after myself and be positive with myself and accept that I'm doing is the right pathway. And the pathway is coming through tonight and then tomorrow night, and it just flows. As I accept it as it flows, and it gives me that spiritual challenge that I already know, but now it's coming to where it is accepted highly by me, thanks to you over the many years. I wouldn't be sitting here speaking with you in your podcast that you did develop, and how you've done so much for me and what you can give back to others in your direction. It's been great.
Oh no! Like I said, I share the story with many other, when I'm doing workshops or with some of the other clients where they are dealing with either being triggered or reactive or a bit of anger, and it can all be like, I think the thing is, like, with a lot of people, myself included, it all can be justified, what we're feeling and what we're experiencing, but just finding that healthy outlet to flip it on its head, right? Like,
Yeah,
and see it from a perceived, like, the perceived negative, and then flipping it on its head and then finding a way to see, well, how is it actually serving you on the way? And then it just unlocks, it sounds like you're seeing life from a completely different new lens.
yeah. And that's what it's all about. It's about looking at yourself inside. How do you feel? We speak about the days of the past, of where you started, of even the thoughts of business. And you get the people that are watching and hearing the story. They're looking at themselves and they're saying, have a good look in the mirror every morning. Is this the person you're looking at is going to handle that business? And then you see a person on the street and you wave and they wave. Is that the customer that's going to support my business? And when you have a cup of coffee and you meet someone, they laugh and they smile at you. So you have that vibe to put off to others, and you give them a business card without doing anything else. And they look at you, and they find you, and the new world of the internet, they can find you wherever you are and come and visit you and ask you for that little bit of help that maybe they need.
Mm. Yeah. Nah. Awesome. Awesome. And you know, I think one of the questions that people might be who are listening to this that might be thinking, especially if they're an artist, it doesn't have to be an artist, but I feel like it could be a business owner, it can be just someone in general. But one of the things on your journey, the 30 years in business, like what's helped you feel worthy of putting a price on a specific artwork, whether it's been $200, $500, $700, 1,000, 5,000, $10,000. Like, has there been any specific technique that you've just like, that's it, that's what it's going to be?
Well, what I found out doing it, I look at the times I've had, and as Doc Tara said, how do you give a cost to a didgeridoo? And I said, oh, just through a pricing. He said, remember the tree grew first. Then you went and found the tree. So you drove out, there's fuel. Then you cut the tree down, there's more fuel. Then you had to feed, there's money. Then you had to sleep. In the morning, you clean the bark off the didgeridoo. Then you clean the inside out. Then you cut the shape and you sealed it. And there's more. Then you used a sealing paint and you sealed it all so to hold your beautiful art and your story. Then the story comes from 100,000 years of the ancient people that was given down the line to me. So that story comes out. Then we got the brushes. Then we got the paints. But how the brushes were made. There was a cost of people making them brushes. There was a cost of people making the paints. Then there was a tin that the paint stood in. So that was made by the earth, the iron ore. Who built that? Who painted that? Who done that? So it's not only just the didgeridoo, it's combined with 1,000 people at $3 each to give you a didgeridoo worth $500. And then that's the final product. Then don't forget the beeswax if you need it. You've got the bee who builds the honey for you to have food. Then the beeswax is there for the use and covering, polishing, and all that. So just one didgeridoo has given the life to 1,000 people and the flora and fauna of this country, which the government can take 10% of the taxes, and you're left with the last bit. But I'm the man at the end who only has $200 for that didgeridoo. But that is the price that is worthy for me to feed my family and keep more stock flowing so others can enjoy that instrument. But in the terminology of it, there's 1,000 people that put that together, of everybody, of everything, just for that one didgeridoo.
I reckon that's a great way to look at it. Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. So anyone that's listening, who do you think the unlocked from within method, how can it be helpful if someone's listening, in whether it's for their business or their day-to-day life? Like what do you think, who it could help?
Anybody? It makes people think, because I feel through your speaking and the people that listen to your site that they think, I'll try this. It's like going into a cafe, instead of eating those chips all the time, have something different from another country. Like when I traveled Europe, I tried all the different foods, get a taste of something that just not was Australian based, you know? So when people listen, no matter where they're from or what they're building, it's this little cake that we just give them of how, when, why. If you want to extend on it, give us a call and we can find out. There's a lot here. There's a lot in it. This cake, as I said, is 10 tiers of cake. And your business is going to sit somewhere in there with the ingredients of a small cake, which you start to build. Your tier 10. So we all started somewhere. We all get the ingredients what we want. It's the right ingredients for the right taste of the right cake for your business. And they're out there, they're listening. So write notes, take little pieces, and then give us a call and we'll see what we can do for you.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Now, you get international sales from other countries, various countries and whatnot. I think the last thing we should share is, like, if anyone's listening, is you do custom artwork for families.
Yep.
Can you share a
Well,
little bit about that?
one good story is when I have my spiritual programs and people that come to this country. And last year, before Christmas, had a couple that came from New Zealand come to my gallery, looked around, picked the 4 or 5 paintings out, and I said to them, I said, would you like me to design a painting that gives you the journey from New Zealand to Australia and the land of Australia you're now living in? So I did. We talked for about 10 hours. We done talks, I done drawings. I said, now you write your story, bring it back to me, and I'll paint a story for your story, what we talked about. So she did, and the husband did. And they had 3 sons. 2 was his and 1 was together between them. So I did this painting, and it had kiwi on the bottom of the right-hand side of the painting facing it, and the journey of the water through. And then she saw this painting I had with the line work all over. She said, what are they? I said, they're the connections, country. She said, well, I want all that on it. Then the husband said, I want the green hills of New Zealand because they both used to be in the Navy. And when they come back, the first thing they saw was great blue, great green fields of New Zealand when they sailed in. So I had the red and yellow of Australia with the green of New Zealand in stripes. But it wasn't just stripes. It was like big S's everywhere. And I joined them all up. One day, it took me about 2 hours to finish them. I put them all on wet and they stuck together. Then I put the dances on it, which were the traditional law. I put the feet mark in the waterways and I drew their sons and them, mum and dad, the 3 sons as traditional dancers. And the story came of when they left New Zealand, kiwi bird was in it, the kangaroo was up here in it, and the connection to country was the line work. So when they came back in the new year, January, they rung me, said, we're coming to have a look. So I put the painting on the easel, covered it all up. So when we sat down, they sat down in front of it, I had it covered. I said, read your story that you wrote. And she read the story. So when I pulled the cover off it, they both burst into tears. And I thought, oh shit, I've done something wrong here. They're not really happy. So I sang out to my wife, quick, get up here, I need help. And my wife said to them, how do you feel? They said, we cannot believe that Michael sat with us for 6 hours and spent 6 weeks, put this together of a story of us in this new land. Now it hangs up in their main entrance of their house in Scarborough to showcase their journey, their stories, and the way I painted that story of their journey, spiritual connection.
Wow.
That was beautiful.
Yeah, powerful. Would have looked amazing. And can you share like the little story with how you had the encounter with the Bee Gees?
Yes, that was interesting. It was 10 years ago. Actually, this next month, 10 years ago, this month. And they were having the BG Way built. And Redcliffe City Council said, I knew the mayor at the time very well. He said, come and play Didge for us and recognise it. So I went down and met Barry, shook hands with him, and he told me his story as a young man that came from England to live here in Redcliffe. And they used to go into the cafes and pinch chocolates and go and swim off the jetty, and all the stories as a kid was doing growing up in the 60s. So got to know him, and I said, oh, I'm here to play didgeridoo for you in the opening of your brothers and your family's walkway. He said, well, come and stand with me. So I stood beside Barry, very tall, and I played didgeridoo, and everybody just thinking, he clapped. And I said, would you like to sign it for me? He said, I'd love to. So he said, to Michael from Barry Gibb, thank you. I now have that didgeridoo in a big frame in my gallery, and it's 10 years since that happened. So I was thinking, I wonder what it'd be worth now, for someone for a beautiful piece of Australia, England, the Bee Gees, the families, a stories connection, and he's the last one out of all the families. Now his grandsons are growing up, and they're doing the Bee Gee style. So this was the last instrument signed and recognised by Barry Gibb in the walkway of the BG Way in Redcliffe. So come and see it, have a visit, and tell your friends and family a nice heirloom that you could take away with you when we discuss things and show you the story.
Yeah, it'd
So
be
it's good to have a
unique.
visit.
Yeah, it'd
Very
be
unique.
quite unique
Yep, nothing like it anywhere in the world.
in the world.
Didgeridoo signed by Barry Gibb. I've got my photos with him, and I've got the day he signed it in the BG Way, and it's all there for the presentation.
Well, that'd be an amazing experience. For anyone that's listening, obviously, where can they find you? You're on LinkedIn. You've
Yep,
also you're on Instagram and socials, the Kullilla-Art. And then if
yes.
anyone wants to come see you in person, get
We're at
to Redcliffe in Queensland. You're down at Clontarf.
Clontarf, Unit 1, 349 McDonald Road, Clontarf. And our website is kullilla-art.com.au, and our email info@kullilla-art.com.au. And as my daughter's young and she knows how to handle everything else, it's LinkedIn, there's Instagram, there's Facebook, and she's now doing another course to raise it a bit to another level. So it's great to come and see, have a yarn, sit, tell me your story. I'll tell you my story with you, and to visit and to yarn. And you never know, you might take away some little thing from a dollar bookmark to a $5,000 painting, anywhere in between, have something of your journey and me speaking with you, enjoying the moment. I thank you all.
Yeah, awesome. And anyone that's interested in speaking engagements, what's best to reach out through the website?
Yes, through the website.
Yep.
Or email. It's just contact our business. Say they want to do talking process on culture, or even business content on how they see and feel, and how's it be like my story and how I came to be and what they have to where they want to be. So it's that connection, that journey, and from a different point of view of how we see it as traditional people as well.
Awesome. Awesome, Michael. Like I said, it's been, such an honor to have you on the show and hear about your story. And, it's no small feat, 30 years in business. The statistics, I think it's 85% businesses don't last the first year.
Yeah.
So, I want to commend you on that, you and your wife, Joe, and yourself. It is something that I think that sum it up, it's resilience.
The first 24 years is 7 days a week. Don't forget that. First 24 years of business, 7 days a week. Home painting, going travelling, cutting didgeridoos, Friday, Saturday, Sunday markets, going to schools, go and travel around the world and back, 7 days a week, 12 hours a day for 24 years. Now we're just starting to cruise through the last few years, hopeful up at the Olympic Games, which I'll be 75-year-old. And then maybe I can have a cup of coffee and a yarn and see how I go from there. Who knows?
Awesome.
I'll be around till I'm 100 is my plan.
Awesome, Michael. Well, again, it's been an honor to have you on Unlocked From Within. Hopefully we can do this again, and we'll see you around.
Thanks very much, brother, and all the best to all the ones listening to you and your stories, and the great person and the great family you are. And it's been a great pleasure to be your friend so many years. I thank you, and thank you, listeners. Enjoy.
Awesome.
If anyone would love to experience a Unlocked From Within one-on-one session with myself, they're perfect for getting over the fear of public speaking. If you've got a limiting belief or a blockage and you're just looking for some clarity, there'll be a link also in the show notes for that. Again, I hope you found value in today's episode, and if you could please leave us, a comment, like, subscribe. It really does help the show. Again, thanks for listening.